My brother's wife humiliated me in front of the entire board, deleted my promotion announcement, and convinced my own father to fire me from the family business. They thought I was just a low-key tech girl who could easily be replaced. But what they didn't know was that I was the only person keeping their entire business running. When I left, I took everything with me, and within 24 hours, their multi-million-dollar company completely failed. My phone exploded with 300 missed calls when they realized their devastating mistake. But before I tell you that story, subscribe to our channel right now so you don't miss any of the incredible revenge stories we share here. For you, it may be just a click, but for us, it's the fuel we need to keep finding and sharing these incredible stories. Have you subscribed yet? Thank you for being part of our community. Now, let me tell you from the beginning. My name is Maya, and at 32, I had spent the last 8 years building Hartwell Industries from a struggling family machine shop into a thriving tech-enabled manufacturing company. What started as weekend coding projects to help Dad track inventory had evolved into a comprehensive digital ecosystem that our competitors couldn't match. Every automated process, every security protocol, every system integration that gave us our competitive edge. I had designed it all during countless 18-hour days when everyone else went home to their families. But in our family business, being indispensable and being valued were apparently two very different things. Tyler, my older brother by 3 years, had always been Dad's obvious successor. While I was debugging code in the server room at midnight, Tyler was playing golf with clients and closing deals that made Dad beam with pride. He had the charm, the MBA from Ohio State, and most importantly, he had been born male in a family where Dad still believed that real leadership required commanding presence and natural authority. When Tyler married Vanessa 2 years ago, Dad didn't just gain a daughter-in-law, he gained what he saw as the perfect power couple to take Hartwell Industries into the next generation. Vanessa Chen Morrison arrived at our company 18 months ago with an impressive resume, communications director at a Fortune 500 company, Northwestern MBA, and a portfolio of successful rebranding campaigns that had caught Dad's attention at a business conference. What Dad saw as sophisticated corporate experience, I recognized as carefully calculated ambition. Within 6 months, she had positioned herself as the gatekeeper for all company communications, convinced Dad that our small-town approach needed professional polish, and systematically begun reshaping Hartwell's public image to align with her vision of corporate success. The subtle undermining started small. Vanessa would edit my technical updates for the company newsletter, removing what she called unnecessary jargon, but actually eliminating details that demonstrated the complexity of my work. She instituted new communication protocols that required all project announcements to go through her approval process, ostensibly to maintain consistent messaging, but effectively giving her control over how my contributions were presented to the company. When clients praised our technological capabilities, she would graciously accept the compliments as part of the overall communications strategy she had implemented. What made Vanessa's manipulations particularly insidious was how she framed them as attempts to help me succeed. "Maya, sweetie, you're so brilliant with technology, but you need to learn how to communicate your value in business terms," she would say with a patronizing smile. "Let me help you translate your technical achievements into language that really resonates with decision makers." She convinced Dad that my direct communication style was too aggressive for client interactions, and that my focus on technical details made me seem not ready for executive responsibilities. The promotion to Chief Technology Officer had been discussed for over a year. Dad knew that our technological infrastructure was our primary competitive advantage, and he recognized that formalizing my leadership role would signal to clients and competitors that Hartwell Industries was serious about innovation. The position came with a substantial salary increase, equity in the company, and most importantly, official recognition that my contributions were driving our success. After months of Dad promising it would happen soon, we finally set a date for the announcement. Friday, November 15th, in the company newsletter that went out to all employees, clients, and industry partners. But that Friday came and went without any mention of my promotion. The newsletter featured updates on Tyler's latest sales victories, Vanessa's new marketing initiatives, and even recognition for our maintenance staff's safety record. but nothing about the CTO appointment that was supposed to establish my official leadership role. When I checked the system logs, a security feature I had built into our communications platform, I discovered that my promotion announcement had been deliberately deleted at 2:47 p.m., just 13 minutes before the newsletter's scheduled distribution. The digital signature on the deletion belonged to Vanessa's administrative account. Monday morning's emergency board meeting was supposed to address what Dad called organizational restructuring to support our growth trajectory. I had prepared extensively, creating detailed presentations about our technological roadmap and the strategic initiatives I planned to implement as CTO. Our board consisted of Dad, Tyler, 2 external investors who had provided crucial funding for our expansion, and our longtime family attorney who handled corporate governance. I walked into that conference room expecting to finally receive the official recognition I had earned through 8 years of building our company's technological foundation. The meeting began with Dad reviewing our financial performance, which had exceeded projections for the 3rd consecutive quarter, largely due to efficiency gains from my automated systems. Tyler presented his sales forecast, highlighting new contracts that were possible only because of our advanced customer portal and real-time inventory tracking capabilities. Then Dad reached the agenda item about executive restructuring, and I stood up to address the board about my vision for our technology department's future. That's when Vanessa, seated across from me in her perfectly tailored blazer, raised her hand with a concerned expression. "Before we move forward with any promotions, I think the board should be aware of some concerning developments that have come to my attention," Vanessa said, her voice carrying the authoritative tone she had perfected during her corporate career. She opened a leather portfolio and began distributing packets of documents I had never seen before. As communications director, I've been conducting a comprehensive review of our internal processes, and I've identified several red flags regarding Maya's management capabilities and professional judgment that could expose the company to significant risks. The external investors, Patricia Williams and James Montgomery, immediately focused their attention on Vanessa's presentation. She had prepared what appeared to be a detailed risk assessment highlighting communication breakdowns, protocol violations, and concerning patterns of insubordination that painted me as a liability rather than an asset. "Last Friday's newsletter incident perfectly illustrates the problem," Vanessa continued, her voice gaining confidence as she sensed the room's shifting dynamics. "Maya submitted her promotion announcement without following proper approval channels, violating established communications protocols, and potentially damaging our professional relationships with key stakeholders." I felt my face burning with rage and humiliation as I realized the sophistication of her sabotage. She had not only deleted my announcement, but had also prepared documentation framing that deletion as evidence of my incompetence. Tyler nodded along with her presentation, adding his perspective. "Vanessa raises valid concerns about leadership readiness and professional development. Maybe we should consider a more structured approach to executive appointments, including external candidate evaluations and formal leadership assessment processes." My own brother was actively supporting the systematic destruction of my career advancement. Patricia Williams, who had always been skeptical of family business dynamics, spoke up with obvious approval for Vanessa's thorough analysis. These are exactly the kinds of due diligence issues that concern external investors. "Thank you, Vanessa, for bringing this to our attention before any irreversible decisions were made." James Montgomery agreed, stating that C-level appointments required unanimous board confidence, and that rushing promotions without proper vetting could undermine investor confidence in our governance practices. I watched in horror as my promotion was being systematically dismantled by people who had no understanding of my actual contributions to the company. Dad, clearly unprepared for this coordinated attack, looked around the room with growing discomfort. The external investors' approval was crucial for our planned expansion, and their obvious support for Vanessa's position put him in an impossible political situation. "Well, Maya has certainly done excellent technical work, but if the board has governance concerns..." He trailed off, obviously calculating the cost of forcing through my promotion against unified opposition. In that moment, I realized that my father was more concerned about maintaining investor relationships than defending his own daughter's career. The meeting concluded with my promotion being postponed pending comprehensive leadership evaluation. which everyone understood meant canceled indefinitely. As board members filed out discussing lunch plans and quarterly projections, Vanessa approached me with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "I hope you understand that this isn't personal, Maya. It's just business. Sometimes family members don't realize that nepotism doesn't count as success in the real corporate world." Her words were delivered quietly, but the message was unmistakable. She had orchestrated this humiliation deliberately, and she wanted me to know that my professional future was now in her hands. The weeks following the board meeting were a masterclass in professional psychological warfare. Vanessa began attending my team meetings uninvited, introducing herself as a communications liaison to help bridge the gap between technical operations and executive management. She would ask questions that revealed her lack of technical understanding, while simultaneously positioning herself as necessary oversight for my department's activities. "I think Maya's team would benefit from clearer communication protocols with stakeholders," she would say. "Or perhaps we need to establish better reporting structures to ensure executive visibility into technical projects." My own team members began looking to Vanessa for approval on projects they had previously handled autonomously. She instituted weekly coordination meetings where technical updates had to be translated into business-friendly language before being shared with other departments. Slowly but systematically, she was inserting herself between me and the rest of the company, creating a narrative that my technical expertise required constant translation and management to be valuable to the business. The psychological impact was devastating. I began questioning my own communication abilities and wondering if my 8 years of successful project management had been somehow inadequate. The personal dynamics at family gatherings became unbearable. Tyler and Vanessa would arrive at Sunday dinners with carefully crafted stories about their latest business successes, while I sat silently processing the professional betrayal I was experiencing daily. Vanessa had a particular talent for making cutting remarks disguised as helpful suggestions. "Maya, honey, have you considered taking some business communication courses? I know some excellent programs that could really help you translate your technical skills into executive language." The condescension was subtle but unmistakable to everyone at the table. Dad's behavior was perhaps the most painful aspect of this situation. Our weekly one-on-one meetings about strategic technology planning were suddenly postponed or rescheduled, as he claimed to be dealing with investor relations and expansion planning. When I tried to discuss the promotion situation directly, he would deflect with comments like, "Let's give the board time to process everything," or, "Sometimes these things work out better with a more deliberate approach." It became clear that he was choosing business politics over family loyalty, prioritizing his relationship with external investors over supporting his own daughter's career advancement. 3 weeks after the board meeting, I was called into Dad's office for what I thought would finally be a candid conversation about my future with the company. Instead, I found Tyler and Vanessa already seated at the conference table, looking like they had prepared for an intervention. Dad closed the door and sat down with the expression of someone about to deliver a terminal diagnosis. "Maya, we've been having ongoing discussions about organizational structure and leadership development, and we think it might be best if you consider exploring external opportunities where you can really showcase your talents without the complications of family business dynamics." Tyler nodded with practiced sincerity, as if this conversation caused him genuine pain. "Oh, you're incredibly talented, Maya, but maybe it's time for you to establish your own professional identity outside of Hartwell Industries. We just want what's best for you and what's best for the company's continued growth." Vanessa added her perspective with perfectly calculated empathy. Sometimes the most loving thing family can do is encourage each other to pursue independent success. There are so many opportunities out there for someone with your technical skills. The rehearsed nature of their statements made it clear that this conversation had been planned and coordinated well in advance. I felt something fundamental break inside me as I realized the full scope of what was happening. This wasn't just about the promotion anymore. They were systematically pushing me out of the company I had spent 8 years building from the ground up. Every late night spent debugging critical systems. Every weekend spent implementing new capabilities. Every innovation that had given Hartwell Industries its competitive advantage. None of it mattered when weighed against family politics and power dynamics. I was being erased from the company's future because my competence threatened their vision of dynastic succession. The final devastation came that evening when I received a text message from Dad. "We've decided to remove you from the company. Pack your desk tomorrow morning." The cold, impersonal nature of the message was like a physical blow. No phone call, no in-person conversation, no acknowledgement of my 8 years of contribution to the company's transformation from struggling machine shop to thriving technology-enabled manufacturer. Just a text message treating me like a problem employee who needed to be terminated. When I checked the family group chat, I saw that Vanessa had immediately loved the message, a public display of approval for my professional execution that felt like the final knife twist in an already mortal wound. Sitting in my car outside Hartwell Industries that evening, staring at the building where I had spent the majority of my adult life, I realized that Tyler and Vanessa had made a critical miscalculation. In their rush to push me out of the company, they had completely overlooked the fundamental architecture of how modern businesses actually operate. I wasn't just an employee who could be dismissed with a text message. I was the single point of failure for every technological system that kept their operation running. And in their arrogance, they had never bothered to understand exactly how dependent their success was on my continued cooperation. During the early years of building our technological infrastructure, Dad had been focused on keeping costs low and maintaining flexibility as we scaled up operations. Instead of investing in expensive enterprise-level solutions, I had developed our systems using a hybrid approach that combined cloud services, custom applications, and integrated platforms, all managed through centralized security protocols that I had designed and maintained personally. The beauty of this architecture was its efficiency and cost-effectiveness. The vulnerability was that it required specialized knowledge that only I possessed to keep everything functioning smoothly. I spent the next hour in my car, systematically reviewing every critical system and identifying the various ways my departure would impact operations. The customer relationship management platform that powered Tyler's sales success was built on a custom integration I had developed between 3 different services, held together by authentication protocols that I updated manually every 90 days. The automated inventory management system that tracked our supply chain was running on cloud servers that I maintained through my personal AWS developer account, with security configurations that would expire without regular renewal cycles that only I understood. The more I analyzed the situation, the more I realized that removing me from the company wasn't just unfair, it was technically catastrophic. They couldn't simply fire me and expect everything to continue operating normally. The financial transaction processing system, the automated shipping coordination platform, the customer portal that handled 60% of our orders, even the basic email servers and company website. All of it was built on interconnected systems that required ongoing maintenance and authentication that I had been providing seamlessly for years without anyone understanding the complexity involved. I drove home and spent the night documenting every system vulnerability and preparing detailed transition documentation that would be required for the company to maintain operations without me. I wasn't planning to sabotage anything out of spite. I was planning to exercise my professional responsibility to properly document my work and ensure secure handover of critical business systems. The fact that this process would reveal exactly how integral my expertise was to their daily operations was simply a natural consequence of their decision to terminate my employment without proper planning or knowledge transfer. By midnight, I had prepared comprehensive documentation packages for every major system, including detailed explanations of security protocols, maintenance schedules, and integration dependencies that would need to be managed going forward. I also prepared formal notification letters for our various service providers, explaining that my employment had been terminated and that all security access should be immediately revoked to protect the company from potential liabilities. I scheduled these notifications to be sent first thing Monday morning, which would give me time to clean out my desk and remove any personal equipment I had been using to support company operations. My phone started ringing at 5:47 a.m. Monday morning. The first call was from our primary cloud service provider, asking for confirmation about a security access revocation request that would affect multiple business-critical applications. The second call was from Tyler, panic evident in his voice as he asked why none of the sales management tools were accessible from his laptop. By 7:30 a.m., When employees were arriving at the office and discovering that essential business applications were either completely offline or displaying security warnings, my phone was buzzing constantly with increasingly frantic messages from family members who were finally beginning to understand the scope of what they had lost when they decided to dismiss me. The next week was absolute chaos. Every system I had built, maintained, and secured over 8 years began systematically failing as authentication protocols expired, security certificates lapsed, and automated maintenance routines stopped functioning without my oversight. The customer portal crashed first, leaving our largest clients unable to access order information, shipping tracking, or account details during their busiest purchasing period of the year. Then the inventory management system began displaying critical errors, making it impossible to accurately track product availability or coordinate shipping schedules with our suppliers and logistics partners. By Tuesday afternoon, the email servers were intermittently failing. The company website was displaying security warnings that made us look unprofessional to potential customers. And even basic office network functionality was becoming unreliable as various authentication systems reached their expiration dates without renewal. Our customer service department was overwhelmed with angry calls from clients who couldn't complete transactions, while our sales team was paralyzed without access to the relationship management tools that Tyler had relied upon for every significant deal he had closed in the past 3 years. Dad called me 63 times on Monday alone. When I finally answered Tuesday morning, his voice was shaking with a combination of desperation and barely controlled rage that I had never heard from him before. "Maya, what the hell have you done to us? The entire company is paralyzed. We can't process orders. We can't communicate with customers. We can't even access our own financial records." I calmly explained that I had simply followed standard security protocols by having my access credentials revoked when my employment was terminated, exactly as any responsible IT professional would do to protect the company from potential security liabilities. Tyler's approach was more aggressive, but also revealed the depth of his panic. He showed up at my apartment Tuesday evening, alternating between demanding that I fix everything immediately and threatening legal action if I didn't restore the systems. I invited him in and walked him through the technical documentation I had prepared, explaining exactly what each system did and how much it would cost to rebuild everything from scratch with proper enterprise-level solutions. His face went pale as he realized that replacing my custom-built infrastructure would require 6 to 12 months of development work and potentially hundreds of thousands of dollars in consulting fees and new licensing costs. Vanessa's response was predictably calculated, but revealed her growing desperation. She attempted to frame the situation as deliberate sabotage, sending detailed emails to board members and external investors claiming that I was maliciously attacking the company out of spite, and that the current crisis proved that my termination was justified due to unprofessional behavior. What she hadn't anticipated was that Patricia Williams and James Montgomery were also receiving increasingly frantic calls from major clients who were threatening to suspend contracts if Hartwell Industries couldn't resolve their fundamental operational failures within the week. The situation escalated beyond family drama into a genuine existential crisis for the company by Wednesday morning. Our 3 largest clients had formally suspended their contracts, pending resolution of what they saw as unacceptable reliability issues. The final turning point came Thursday afternoon when Patricia Williams called me directly, her tone completely different from our last conversation. "Maya, I owe you a sincere apology. We clearly didn't understand the scope of your contributions to this company's operations. Would you be willing to discuss terms for your immediate return as Chief Technology Officer, with full board support and compensation that reflects your actual value to the organization?" She paused before adding quietly, "We've also decided that some recent personnel decisions were not in the company's best interests and will need to be reconsidered." I took the weekend to carefully consider my options. The company that had dismissed me like an inconvenient problem was now offering me exactly what I had originally wanted, plus additional concessions including equity participation and autonomy over all technology decisions. But more importantly, they were offering something that had been missing from our relationship: genuine recognition of my expertise and acknowledgement that my contributions were fundamental to the company's continued existence. Tyler and Vanessa's attempt to push me out had backfired catastrophically, demonstrating to everyone exactly who was truly essential to Hartwell Industries' success. On Monday morning, I walked back into Hartwell Industries as the officially appointed Chief Technology Officer, with a new employment contract that included significant equity, substantial salary increase, and complete authority over all technology-related decisions and personnel. Vanessa had already been transitioned out of her role, and Tyler was noticeably subdued during our first staff meeting after my return. Dad approached me privately that evening with tears in his eyes, apologizing for prioritizing investor relations over family loyalty, and promising that he would never again underestimate the foundation I had built for our company's success. Sometimes the best revenge is simply allowing people to experience the full consequences of not valuing what they actually have. So, what did you think of this revenge story? Did Maya do the right thing, or did she overdo it? I'm super curious to hear your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this story and want more content like this, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and activate the bell so you don't miss any new videos. It's free and helps me keep bringing you these incredible stories. And look, there's another video appearing on your screen right now with a story that will blow your mind. Click here and I'll meet you there. Thanks for sticking around until the end, and we'll see you in the next one.